Well, thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
Let's begin with a little review. Oh, and Jen, and you can go and open your Bibles up because we're going to spend a good bit of time in Genesis 1:26 through 28. But who's speaking in Genesis 1:26 through 28?
God's talking. God's
Well,
speaking.
read off the choices that you have on the screen. Which one of those is appropriate?
Well, all.
All above, because it is the entire Godhead together that is having that conversation. Okay, next slide. Just fill in the blank here for me, please, whoever will. Man was created in the image of God, and in the likeness of, and here you kind of got a choice because you have to deal with the pronouns, and in Genesis 1:26, I think it is, or is it 27 of that time, it's in our image, which if you were looking back, it would be in whose image?
In His image.
Huh?
His image. God's
His
image.
or their, because it's actually a plurality. Because God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit are all involved there. So, all right, let's go to the next review. And I'll be able to get my pages to open up here after a while. Fill in the blank here, or give the right answer. First one is either or. Was mankind created singular or plural?
Plural.
Plural. What does it say?
Yeah.
I can't understand that. Your head may be rattling, Pam, but I can't hear it.
Mankind is to be fruitful and multiply.
And mankind is to be fruitful and multiply, and what's the rest of that?
Finish the earth.
Fill the earth
And rule it.
and rule over
The fish in the
subdue
sea,
And the
the
birds in the
And the-
birds in the sky, and over
then it kind of gets more general. It's every creature on the
creeping
land.
thing, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth.
Okay, all right. Oh, while you're there, be reading through Genesis 1:26 to 28. And then I'm going to hand out something that I want you to, after you finish that, then read this. And Thomas, if you'd take one, pass it on.
Thomas Aquinas.
Thank you.
Okay, I want you to, after you've read Genesis there, I want you to read this release from the Associated Press on August 27th, 2005, and give me your reactions.
I can't really understand what the heck they're talking about.
Well,
Waited.
read this release and then look at the slide. This actually happened. It was up for a few weeks or several weeks.
Oh, they were being funny.
No, they were trying to make the point that people are just like the animals. They're,
Amen. Thank you,
that people
Sharon.
are just another animal.
And that's kind of the first place we're trying to drop anchor this morning and try to handle this. When God created mankind, and what was it about the creation that you take note of? What are the first points and that are made and keep going, and then if you go on over into chapter 2 and begin about verse 7 or verse 4 and read the rest of that chapter, it gives you some more information. But what are we looking at here?
I don't understand the question.
Well, all right, let's clarify as best we can. When God created mankind, when the Godhead said, "Let us create mankind,"
It was good.
what had already happened?
The rest of creation.
The rest of creation had already been created, hadn't it? So, then he says, "Let us make mankind mankind, depending on which translation you're reading." What's different about mankind?
We're in
God's
God's image.
In our image and in our likeness.
And that is different from what else?
The rest of creation.
It's different from the rest of creation. Now, particularly if you go into chapter 2 and you start reading about in verse 4 and 5, God created Adam, and there's always a big debate about whether chapter 2 is a retelling of what happened in chapter 1, or whether chapter 2 is some kind of special creation after chapter 1 was finished. Well, I wasn't back there, folks, so I don't know. My belief is that it's a retelling. And that seems to be, I feel comfortable because I'm in agreement with most of the scholars that I respect. But here, we've got Adam, and he was formed from what? Dust. From the dust of the earth. In fact, the root of Adam, Adam just means a man, but the root of Adam is dirt. So don't get to be feeling too high and mighty out there. But what did God do once he had formed Adam?
Breathe the breath of life.
Gave him a living soul.
Yeah.
He became a living,
So,
it doesn't say soul in the NIV, does it?
New King James, NIV, and King James all say a living being.
A living being. Now, this is where we're a living being. Well, what is a gorilla?
It's a living being.
It's a living being. What's different between a man and a gorilla or a chimpanzee, because that's the one they like to talk about being 98% of the same DNA. Well, if it was, it'd work better. It would be a much closer match. But what is the difference between those? There are a lot of characteristics that are the same.
the soul.
Both breathe air, both have lungs, both have a heart. The heart in a gorilla looks very much like the heart in a human being.
One has God-given dominion over.
Well, God, back
All other
in
things.
chapter 1, God gave man dominion over all of them, didn't he?
but they're not made in God's own image.
And they're not made in God's image, so what is it that is different about humans? What is wrong with the display that the people at the London Zoo were trying to they were trying to promote an idea, and what is wrong with that idea?
That we are not just animals?
We're not just animals. What are we? We are body
God's image.
Body, mind, and soul.
we're doing something wrong
You go
here.
ahead, I'll go ahead. Give another mic.
So,
It is just, they were just trying to put this image that dumbing us down, basically. That we're no more.
Had a son named Tim. Tim was born with Down syndrome. Very severe case of Down syndrome. The highest IQ that Tim ever tested was 50. Well, you have to use nonverbal tests, but there are a lot of chimpanzees that can score 70, an IQ of 70. There's a difference between Tim and those chimpanzees.
But that chimpanzee will never be anything more than a chimpanzee. And they're also violent, and they're, chimpanzees are some of the
You're
most.
saying men's not violent?
Some of the animals treat their kids better than the humans these days.
Well,
We have heart and soul and mind.
Have a heart and soul and mind that is the image of God. You see, Tim drew art. It wasn't great art, but it was art. And you could look at it and tell what it was, and you kind of have trouble with trying to get a chimp to do that. Tim loved music. He sang. He would make up words to go with the tunes that he liked. Because Tim was a human being. He was made in God's image. He was severely handicapped in that his mental capacity was quite low. He couldn't learn to read. He couldn't do a lot of things. But he was still could exhibit the characteristics of humanity that God intended to be different and to separate us from the other living creatures. Now, this gets to be a debate among those who hold what viewpoints, what worldviews would not see anything wrong with this exhibit at the London Zoo.
secular, humanist.
Well, a humanist, which is part of the naturalist or even new spiritualist viewpoint.
You're talking about evolution?
I'm talking about, I'm not even going to use the word. Evolution gets a bad rap
Yeah.
because it's made to be a lot of things that it's not.
Not, right.
God created evolution. Because when he created life to be able to sustain itself. Bob makes his living practicing controlled evolution. And without the control, without that careful control by human beings, there probably wouldn't be enough food stuff to feed the people of the world. But we're back to what is the essence of the difference? We have a body, and that body is very similar to other living creatures. If our heart valve plays out, what do they do first, Bill?
A pig valve.
Try to take one from a pig. If you can't do that, then they have to use a mechanical one. But I had a friend that had a mechanical one. It was always kind of humorous because he didn't have a heartbeat, he had a click.
Yeah.
Because you could hear it when it
Flicker.
sometimes in a quiet room. But here there are differences, and recognizing that difference is very important in having or maintaining a Christian worldview. We are not just animals. We are the image bearers of whom?
The Creator.
Of the creators. We bear their image. And we're going to see next week and the week after, as we wind this all up, that being that image bearer gets at the very essence of what we are to be as human beings. Now, let's go into chapter 2 here for a minute. And what is one of the first things that it says? Let's see, about verse, got to deal with the shrubs. 8. Starting about verse 8. God brings all the animals up, whether he creates them again out of the dust of the earth or whether he just takes ones he's already created. I'm not going to argue one way or the other. But he has all the animals walk by, or he has them so they're there on display, and Adam can see them. And what God waits to see what Adam does. What's he waiting to see?
He names the animals.
He waits to see, the NIV says, he waits to see what the man would call them, or what Adam would call them.
Yeah.
Why would God do that?
If it belongs to you, you can name it.
Okay, if it belongs to you, you can name it. Naming implies what?
Superior position. Of
A superior position, an authority position.
Yeah.
If you have authority over something, you can name it. So, Adam had authority over the animals. He could name them. And whatever Adam named them, that's what God was content with. Now, what else? Because he'd already said, noticed something, and already said, made a judgment that is one of the most important judgments that God ever made, when he said, it is not good
For the man to be alone.
for man to be alone. Is the Godhead alone?
Well,
No.
yes and no.
Well,
Within themselves.
there are three of them, and they're in perfect fellowship.
Godhead is not alone.
What?
If you're talking about Godhead, it's not alone. You're looking at three.
I can't hear him, but
He
somebody
said
tell,
you're looking at 3, so he's not alone.
you're looking at three. That's important. You see, we not only worship God, Muslims worship their concept of God. So do most American Indians. Most of the native theologies, I got interested in this as I was reading a particular novelist who talked about the Navajos, and they all recognize a creator, a God. But they don't all have a concept of God as it's presented in the Bible, which is 3 in 1. And those 3 in 1, working in perfect unity, is necessary to understand the conditions that exist for the welfare of our soul. So, Adam had named all these animals, he looked at all of them, and there was no helpmeet that was found that was suitable for Adam. And then we have the story of the first operation. First example of anesthesia. Because what did God do?
Put him to sleep.
He put him to sleep. He knew better than try to do an operation on Adam and him awake. Put him to sleep, and he created Eve. And he created Eve from what he took from the man. That's very important as we understand our various and sundry roles. But then, as you go on into the rest of chapter 2, what's Adam's reaction when he wakes up and there's Eve?
Wow.
He literally is beside himself.
Yeah.
Isn't the rib the only bone that'll grow back if it's taken?
I have no earthly idea.
I thought it was.
I do not know. I don't think ribs grow back.
No.
I'm not aware of any part other than the skin of the human being that will grow back. Now, I know some things that are there when you're born go away, like if you're born with tonsils and they don't take them out surgically, they will eventually be reabsorbed into the body.
And it says, yes, human ribs can grow back, but only if the surrounding tissue sheath called the
Periosteum.
yeah, is left intact during the removal.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Now we know.
I guess that's great if you're going to be a doctor, you need to know that. But in this case, there are 2. So what does this tell you about mankind and gender?
There are 2.
There are 2.
There are 2. They are what?
Male and female.
Male and female. How did God create them?
As
Last
male and
part
female.
phrase in verse 28 of chapter 1. Male and female created he them. Okay. And then the chapter 2 is a further explanation of this. So mankind is made to have a definite gender. It's not, I mean, if you get involved in some of society today, some aspects of it, there are at least 4 and sometimes more than that are supposedly genders. God doesn't recognize that. And the Christian worldview doesn't recognize that.
There's 2 genders and then the rest is a mental illness.
Well, the Psychological Association says that's not true, that they're not a mental illness. And really, it's not. It's not mental. It's something else.
It's a perceptive problem. Perception.
Perception,
And it's,
but it's a
Yeah.
spiritual problem. Not a mental problem necessarily. Mental is involved, and we're not gonna go into that because we just plain don't have time.
So did Adam name women right there? Did Adam name women right there?
He named
Verse
Eve.
23, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh, and she shall be called woman.
Yes,
So he named her woman.
he named her woman,
Named her.
and then after she had a child, he named her Eve as the mother of all living. And of all of the studies in the creation of the genome, the one of the few things we've been able to come up with that's definite is that there's only one mother image that's represented in the what part of the DNA is it?
Mitochondrial.
Mitochondria part of the DNA. I don't know, people have said so many things that were true and half true and not true about that and published them, and the web is great. The World Wide Web is great in one way, you can find out a lot of things, but it's horrible in another way, in that any nitwit, anybody can make a nice, slick looking website and present any idea they want to present. And it looks, on the surface of it, just like all other ideas. It's only when you get to comparing that to where truth came from that you can find the differences. Okay, let's see here where I am. God breathed into Adam the breath of life, therefore mankind are living creatures, but God created mankind in their image. Therefore, in addition to a body, mankind also possesses a soul. And that is absolute. Now, I got a little exercise for you here, and you can do this. The easiest way would be to do this verbally, but if y'all are all allergic to talking, we may have to do this where you write it down and then whatever. But I want you to come up with names, come up with words that describe who you are. All the different ways you can describe yourself.
Back to that picture, one thing that's absurd about that is they get out there and they say, well, we're animals, but they still put clothes on and cover up all their parts, even though an animal would never do that in a million years.
Well, you can, but
Well, yeah, but the animal wouldn't do it
Well,
on
it was
its own.
probably gotten arrested because England has a very strict rules, I think. And they didn't want to run afoul of that, I don't guess. All right, but come up with all these names. Make up a name. Give me a name.
Are you looking for characteristics like creative and
You are,
impulsive?
all right, in terms of creation, you are the
Created.
created one. All right, what else?
Human.
You are human. Somebody help Bob out.
Children of God.
Well, we're going to be. That's what we're trying to be.
scholar,
We are what?
scholar,
Well, sometimes we try to be that and
Educated.
with more or lesser success.
Intelligent?
Well, some of us are and some of us are lesser, but remember, intelligence is not necessary to be a human.
We're bipeds, whatever that word is, and we walk upright.
Well,
But there
all
are
right.
a lot of animals that
A
are bipeds.
lot of animals do, but you know what? Of all of those animals that do walk upright, they have all revert to being a quadruped
Yeah.
when they're under stress. If you threaten a gorilla, what does he do?
He'll get on all fours, charge or.
And charge. So they move faster that way. I don't know, humans might too if we ever tried it, but I don't think so. What else?
Oh,
What is a word that describes you, Fanny? You are a,
Baker.
are you a woman or you're a
Oh,
man?
woman.
You're a woman. All right. Judy, you are what?
I'm a woman too.
You're a woman, and as a woman,
She's a wife.
you are, in keeping with Eve, you are a wife,
A wife, a mother.
Mother.
and she's a mother. By the way, you can all congratulate Judy. Tomorrow is our 63rd wedding anniversary. Commiserate with her, and she put up with me this long.
Maybe it's not congratulations, but sympathy. I don't know.
Whatever you feel is appropriate. After 63 years, you get to choose. Felton, what about you?
Parent,
A parent. Okay. Did you know even secular psychologists recognize that the necessities of human parenting set humans apart from all other animals?
Yeah.
Of all of the animals, all of the mammals, the humans, particularly complying to the primates, humans have the narrowest birth canal, smallest infants in development, and the longest period of dependency on their parents. What else? What would you add, Betty?
I'm a proud great-grandmother.
You're a great grandma. You have generations. How do you keep up with generations in animals?
Keep them
They
alive.
don't. We do because we keep breed books on the animals that we've maintained the breeding lines of. And a lot of times we don't recognize that, but when you figure in the wealth of a nation, one of the things you have to look at are what's the value of the lineage of the animals that they have kept and maintained and domesticated. Somebody else jump in and tell me some other ideas.
I'm a fisherman, among other things.
Fishermen, you have dominion over those fish. Try to anyway, don't you?
When they do bite.
All right,
I'm a son.
you're a son. So am I. But I'm also a father.
Teacher.
And that is something that talks about who we are and what we are and how we go about living life. Now let's do this out of just the physical. And let's talk more about what is the consequences of Adam and each of us following on having a soul.
Conscience.
with that, part of having that soul is a conscience. We talked about one time, and we'll talk more about this in the next couple of weeks. How do you start talking with somebody who doesn't accept the same definitions of truth you do? One of the things you can do is ask them to listen to the whispers. All of us, when sometimes we work real hard to wipe it out, but all of us have a whisper of the eternal in our minds. Those of you that work with young children, those of you that can remember, after why, what is the most frequent statement of a 3-year-old?
Me.
No, not after me. That's 2-year-olds. But about 3, and they start
Why?
playing, they say why. That's the most common. The second most common is what?
What, probably?
No.
Probably
That's
right,
not fair.
Oh.
Where did that sense of fairness come from? At 3, you probably haven't taught them that yet. At least it's very difficult to teach that until they get about 3.5 or 4 to begin to get that idea. But there is an inherent idea that things ought to be fair. Where did it come from?
Creation.
It goes all the way back to being created with a soul. A soul that longs to be in fellowship, not only with other souls here on earth, but with God. And one guy who was one of the early writers about Christianity referred to it as a God-shaped hole in our humanity or in our brains. Cross-shaped hole is what he called it. And that we want that relationship. Okay, how are we doing on time? All right, we've still got a bunch of time. And I don't want to jump into next week's lesson until we get there.
Dogs are kind of like that too. As far as they can feel like jealousy and envy and sadness and a sense of fair. Like if you give one thing and don't give
Well,
one,
that's
other.
interesting. People always project onto our domesticated animals properties that we associate with being human. There's a term for that. What is that? Anthropomorphizing or something.
Oh yeah, anthropomorphic.
Well, let me tell you something. A dog does not have a conscience. You may think that dog is sorry for doing what it did. But all it's sorry is that he got caught. And he's anticipating that there is a consequence. And we think dogs can, they can have identity and expression of
Remorse.
of wanting in a relationship, but it's part of their survival technique. Somewhere back down the line, there was a wolf that decided that being friendly and an ally of man made for better food than being a wolf. And so they became dogs. All of that is kind of interesting, but it's not the gist of where we're trying to go. If you were a true naturalist, what would be at the center of your universe?
I would. I would be at the center of my universe.
Well, matter, which
Yeah.
usually always it gets end up being redefined as me.
Yeah.
And so, what's fair?
Whatever's
What I
beneficial.
want.
Whatever's to my benefit. If it's not to my benefit, it's not fair. If it is to my benefit, it doesn't matter who's being wronged, it's fair. And
That is the way a lot of people think.
Yes,
that
they
is
do.
the way a lot of people think. There are a lot of naturalists who are running around claiming to be Christians. But they really look at the world, they answer all of the questions about how should I be and what am I and how am I going to act based on a naturalistic view of the world. A lot of people look at it from a postmodern standpoint. Whatever the community accepts, that's okay. Whatever the community condemns, that's what's wrong. Now, if the community happens to condemn a certain group of people because they're different, that's all right. And we try to find a way to justify it. So that is, if you're a postmodernist.
And Sharia law is okay for them to kill their wives if they don't
Yeah.
like the way she looked this morning.
Yeah, and that's their background, their culture, so they have a right to do that. What can you point to in Scripture that tells you that's not the way God wanted it to be?
Love your neighbor as yourself.
All the
All
way
right.
back to Deuteronomy 6, love the Lord
Absolutely.
your God with all
You-
your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind,
Love your neighbor as yourself?
and love your neighbor.
Well, why should I love my neighbor unless my neighbor is somehow been adding to my benefit? Only because my neighbor and I share a soul. Does that make sense? All right, what other questions and comments do you have about this particular lesson? Next week, this completes this unit, and next week we're going to start dealing with the last unit of which is how can I tell right from wrong, and try to deal with that. It take us. I hope we can do it in 2 weeks, and then we'll be through with this study. But
Thank you.
any comments or questions?
I took a class at UT Dallas in the early 90s, and it was the psychology of the brain or something. And I took it only because I absolutely had to. Figured I would.
Psychology of what?
Psychology of the brain.
Okay.
And I figured I'd fail it, but, you know, I had to take it, so. And, of course, he believed that everything that went on was chemical in the brain. But in the process of the discussion, he said that everything went back to a single mother. And I was so good, I didn't say, I know her name. But you know, it seemed to be perfectly fine that we all come from this single mother, from this atheist, PhD. But all the rest of it was just chemically determined, and you couldn't make decisions other than, love was all a chemical thing, and dreams, there was no soul anywhere.
I think one of the most crucial lessons you can gain out of this section is the question of gender. And Just notice how this is, how widespread different ideas become. I have an acquaintance, he's a friend of my daughter. They worked together for years and years in the school business. Well, his daughter went to school and became a physician. And then she had finished medical school, and it was time for her for a residency. And nowadays they make visits to different residencies to put their preferences down, and then they have the big match day.
Big match.
But she wanted to be a pediatrician. One of the more prominent residencies in the world, in this country, in pediatrics, was in Seattle. So she made the visit. And one of the points they made is that when you go in and it's a child is born, you do not hand the child to the parent and say, here's your son or here's your daughter. Here's your baby, and they may be male or they may be female. She chose not to do her residency there and cross them off her list. But it meant that she had to exercise that judgment as a believer, and she is a believer, not of the same fellowship that we are, but she believes in God. And that just didn't fly with her. Well, when it gets to that level, where we're training the people who are going to be in charge, or the ones that are going to be in authority over a significant portion of our lives, that way, then we've got a lot of ground to make up. There are all kinds of predictions out there that will be the issue that just ends the church. Well, okay, if it does do that, then let us go out on the side of the Lord. See you next week.
After all the things we've been through, I still have